Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll have a good conversation today about some soil health and the crop aid difference and why we're different and very beneficial for your farming operation. I'm the owner and founder, operations manager. I kind of run the back end, so I'm making sure all the suppliers are on cue and ready to go for us and help run the plant. My brother's involved. He's a general manager. And we have Darren Fisher in the audience. He's our technical advisor, main agronomist. We also have Kevin White here. He's our in-house logistics guy and a microbiologist. And then, of course, Brendan Kuntz. And we have Terrell Swaney here as well from the Saskatoon area. He's another in-house agronomist and a rep. And, of course, we have Bruce Daigle here. So lots of help if you've got questions today. So why start a soil health company in the first place? I'm a third-generation farmer from the Rosetown area. I farmed by Sovereign with my brother there. And went to university, took ag, was done that in 91, and come on the farm and started farming with my dad. And we were buying bigger tractors to pull the same drills. The land was pretty hard, more and more inputs. And then especially when we hit the droughts of 2000, 2001, there was just no money in it and lots of barriers and problems. So we were looking at, what are we missing here? This ground is hard as a rock. It's not easy to work with. We're in that Regina heavy gumbo clay. So we were having deteriorating soil conditions and again, compaction was the number one problem. And at that time, there was very few products available. Anything that was available, certainly there was no science behind it. They were too expensive and they didn't work or they didn't work consistently. So I was looking to find a solution to achieve higher production, fix some issues with our farm and our soil. Again, compaction, we'll hear that word lots today because that's the number one problem on most farms around the world. And again, needing more and more inputs, and sometimes those inputs we weren't getting the efficacy out of them that we were needing. So over the years, I guess I'll mention, I was working in 2003. I took a job with a company out of Alberta, soil health company, very early days for that industry and those products. But I was just looking for a solution and looking to maybe even educate myself a little bit. That job got me working in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It ended up getting my brother on board. He was a school teacher at the time, and then he came farming with me. And then I ended up in Australia for 8 years doing R&D for another company and all kinds of things. We were looking at biologicals, biostimulants, you name it, anything that we could find. We were testing and trialing and looking for markets. And in working for other companies and being a farmer myself and spending good money for products that are supposed to do X, when we did find some really good technology and science-based products that were just fantastic, we wanted to run this company different than all the other soil health companies were being run at the time and lots still today. So it's kind of the crop aid difference we talk about. So it's founded by farmers, myself, my brother. It's owned by farmers. We understand the problems and the challenges on the farm and the financial side of everything. Most of our employees that sell our product, of course, there's more and more coming on all the time, but certainly in the beginning, they were all farmer distributors. We still have lots of them, but we do have full-time staff now and other retails that sell our products. And myself as a farmer and the owner of this company, I have high expectations of anything I buy, whether it's a combine or a chemical or whatever, and I expect it to do what it's supposed to do and do that every time. So that's how we run this company. There's a few other things I don't like in the industry. Transparency and affordability. I know as a farmer I need something priced where I don't need 8 bushels an acre to recover the cost. It's got to just be a cheap add-on. Something I can do, and I know I'm doing the right thing and getting to the end goal where I want my farm and my land. Transparency and affordability, that's a big one still today. Everything we put in our product, we list on the label. It's important that guys know what they're buying, and then they can see the raw ingredients, and we have science-backed data for all of our ingredients, what it does, why it works every time. No proprietary information, so we're not going to say, trust us, use this, it's good. It's all on the label, everything we put in it. backed by science. So you won't see farmer testimonial in our handouts. You won't see it on the website. You might see some videos just for us to get a point across, or some pictures that we'll show you. But no farmer testimonials. We don't need it. We use colleges and universities and third-party companies to confirm everything we're talking about. Again, I'll mention the low cost. We got to have stuff there that's sub $8 or cheaper, just so it's affordable. And of course, CFIA registration. A lot of companies will throw a bit of fertilizer in their products and just sell it as a fertilizer and skip the whole process of going through CFIA, which I feel is incorrect. CFIA is very good for quality control, legal labels, making sure we're doing the right thing on the manufacturing end. All of our products run through CFIA, whether they need registration or not. So our foliar fertilizers, for instance, do not require registration, but we'll put it through the CFIA process anyways. The letter will come back that we don't need it, but they'll go through all our quality controls, our formulation methods, our labels, everything, just to keep everything above board and 100% transparent and correct. Trials and results we do every year, and we continually do them, and especially if we're going into new areas. So we're moving now into Quebec and Ontario, so we are doing research on corn and soybeans. We're down in the States, same thing, different crops. So we're consistently always trialing wherever area we're going into. So again, if we're talking yield trials, we do them every year all over the place. So they're third-party replicated, Quest Ag and so on. There's companies that's all they do. We post all of our trial data on our website. We don't doctor it. We don't touch it. We just post it as we get it. So you can read it the same way we get it. So we're not doctoring it and summarizing it up and making it look sweet. It is what it is. And you'll find that the results are very consistent, 2 to 5 bushels an acre, most of them, sometimes more. If it's a real dry, sometimes less. It's a bit of a Cinderella year. But it's all on there for everyone to see. We've had some major research work done with the University of Alberta on clubroot and diseases in the soil, phenomyces, root rots, etc., because we get a lot of anecdotal comments back from farmers where we're getting really good results with that. So what we do is anytime we get an anecdotal result from a farmer, then we'll go and find the appropriate research bodies and get the data to support what we're seeing. We also work with Inotech, Lakeland College. We got ongoing long-term trials with U of S now, which is really exciting. We'll talk about all that at the end. So our products, we're not a very complicated company. We don't have 75 products to pick from. We just got the core good ones that are working extremely well. So we have 2 seed products. We have the Seed and the Seed Plus. They're both seed primers, so they consist of NPKs and the essential micronutrients and a biostimulant. The Crop Aid Plus is our core product. That's our biostimulant, our soil health product. We have a couple foliar fertilizers, which we'll go into. They're just a real nice analysis, and then we add a few things in there that differentiate us a little bit from the rest of the industry, and we'll go through that. And we have a water conditioner as well. Very important for guys to use good water or fix poor water so that we can get the best bang out of your chemicals. So the Seed Plus and the Crop Aid Plus, some of the core ingredients that they all share, so lignin and kelp extracts. And we'll go exactly what these are and how they work. But lignin is based out of the pulping industry. It's a product that comes when you pulp trees. It's a byproduct from the pulp mill. So it's fresh plant-based carbon with living energies. Very, very important. That product on the seed or through the biology it stimulates will provide nutrients at critical early growth stages, and of course stimulate beneficial biology and activity in the rhizosphere right around the root and the seed. And it will feed and help grow those small plants and seeds until they are able to have larger nutrient gathering roots. It's the first 30 days that dictate the maximum yield potential. So before that plant even has any roots or shoots on it, we're already starting to penetrate the seed coat, get good nutrition in there, burst the spermosphere, which we will talk about after, and really attract protective biology around that seed to get it off to the best possible start. And we have some data that we'll go through here showing how we can increase the germination and vigor of the seed that we use. So the ammonium lignosulfonate is the exact kind of lignin that we use. There are different ones, but that's the one we use. A lot of the data from ALS originated from the University of Guelph on potato research, where they're curing scab on potatoes with a 2% solution of ALS. We have about a 7% in our product. So very, very beneficial for soil-borne issues and pathogens. So what this product does when we spray it on the soil, it causes a huge rise in beneficial bacteria. On average, about 325 times increase in 14 days. Bacteria benefits, of course. It's the only organism that converts our applied fertilizer program into plant available. Also breaks down manures and plant trash. So, of course, we're converting nutrients to plant available nutrients. Help reduce soil pathogens at the same time from 10 to 100 fold. And you wonder why that can happen. Well, a couple of different reasons, and we'll get into that. But really, once we get good biology going and we start to loosen up the soil, the pathogens like tight, compacted soil with low oxygen. So we've changed that atmosphere under the soil, and now we're not getting the pathogens coming out of dormancy. We're getting all the beneficials, and basically the beneficials will consume the pathogen spores as a food source, and we're actually eliminating those spores from the soil. So the kelp, seaweed extract, again, there's many places to get kelp. We gather ours from Nova Scotia. It's the best kelp in the world. Some of the benefits of that, they are also a very good biostimulant, helps free up tied up nutrients in the soil, also enriches that rhizosphere right around the roots and the plants, that little cocoon shape of biology that hides our plants and our seeds from the soil. It's full of nutrients, conditioners, growth stimulants, minerals. It's just a really good plant-based ingredient for us. Obviously, biostimulants help build strong plants and healthy growth. So again, the Crop Aid Seed and Seed Plus, that's a carbon-based liquid solution. Supplement and maximize a standard fertilizer program. Enhance germination and vigor, and protect your seed and seedlings against pathogens and stress. The ingredients in the seed products. So both products are exactly the same, except the Crop Aid Seed Plus has mycorrhizal fungi spores in it as well. So we got lignin, we got the kelp, we got NPKs, and some basic essential micronutrients in there for germination and vigor and early plant growth. Again, the Crop Aid Seed Plus, same thing, 4 strains of mycorrhizal fungi that will cover anything we're growing as farmers. Some of the mycorrhizal fungi benefits we'll get, whether we add it or stimulate that out of dormancy through our biostimulant. They extend the root system by creating hyphae. So hyphae are long tube-like fungal structures in the soil. They can go meters away from the plant into the depths of the soil, bring back nutrients and water to the biology around the root and exchange it for different carbons, which we'll go through that whole system here shortly. So mycorrhizal fungi are responsible for roughly 50% of the phosphorus uptake of our plants, and they're also largely responsible for building soil structure and taking out compaction of the soil. We have very little mycorrhizal fungi action going in our soils today, so anytime we can step on the gas pedal there, we get big results. They also help absorb more water, which increases plant water uptake, improve soil structure, soil aggregation, resist and overcome pathogen infections, and the way that it does that is biology actually wraps itself around the seedlings, roots, hiding the plant from the soil, blocking all the entryways into the seed or the roots that the pathogens would normally take. That, in conjunction with actually consuming the spores, is how we get disease control with good biology. And of course, all of this contributes to higher yields and healthier crops. Application and timing, it can be mixed with any other products that you would be putting on your seeds. Fungicides, pesticides, inoculants, doesn't matter. There's nothing live in our product. We're simply a trigger, and I'm going to explain the exact process of ours right after this slide, I believe. So we apply it up to the seed anytime before seeding. It can be now or it doesn't matter. Whenever you're cleaning grain, if you want to treat it now. Some guys like myself, I just treat it out of the bin into the truck and then out it goes to the drill. So however you want to do it, doesn't matter. It will not activate until the seed's dropped into the soil. Application rate is standard, 100 mil a bushel, kind of the same as anything else we'd be using. And if you're doing a seed that requires more water to get better coverage, something like barley or oats, then you can certainly add more water if you need it. I will mention we don't put dyes in our seed product. I'm not a fan of the pink gloves and boots, and there's actually a fair amount of research showing some negative results on germination when we put the dyes in the seed. So we're a non-toxic, non-dangerous good. Animals could eat our product if it's treated with seed. You can certainly put it back into the bin and sell it to the elevator. There's zero issues that way, so we don't require the dye to go on there. Container sizes for the seed product, 10-liter jugs, 500 or 1,000-liter totes. We'll mention we do not charge deposit on totes. I hate that as a farmer, so we don't do that. The biostimulant, before we get into this, I'm just going to explain how a biostimulant works in the first place. Before we started farming the land, we had native vegetation that was growing on the surface of the soil, all kinds of different plants, broadleaves, grasses. And those native plants drip exudates into the soil. Those exudates, complex sugars, carbons, proteins, different chemicals, hormones, drip down into the soil, activate and get biology out of dormancy, and the signal is to go refine non-plant available nutrients in the soil and water, bring this back to the plant and exchange it for the exudates coming out of the plant. It's a symbiotic relationship. The biology feeds the plant feeds the biology. That biology is good, healthy, beneficial, aerobic biology, keeps the soil nice and loose and able for water to get into it so that they can survive, so the plants can survive. So it's a natural symbiotic relationship. What happens when we come along now, we're farming, so we've cleared that vegetation away, which has eliminated the exudates and the signal for the biology to get going, and we're monocropping. In most cases, it's a wheat or a canola or a pea plant or whatever. Non-native plants, non-native exudates coming out of them, in some cases not a lot of exudates coming out of them at all. And so what we're getting is no signal to the biology to come out of dormancy. Now, all the biology is going to go dormancy over the course of the year as that plant starts to die off, or as we get to, say, -5 in the soil. Everything's going to go into dormancy, spore phase, and then it's going to come out the next spring. Well, the only way it's coming out of dormancy is if it gets signals from nature to get it out of dormancy and tell it to get rolling, and there's plants to feed here. So all we've simply done as a company is we've invented a product that mimics that native exudate that was coming down from the native vegetation. And again, you'll hear us say plant-based ingredients. That's one of our points of difference from other companies. There's all different types of carbon you can buy and put down in different products to stimulate biology, and they all do some kind of a job. But if we are trying to lift plant beneficial biology out of dormancy and get it rolling in the soil, we need to use plant-based ingredients. So in this case, we're using lignin. That is, like I said before, comes out of the pulping industry. So it's from freshly cut trees. It's pure carbon. It still has energies with it, which is very much part of the signal deal in the soil to get the biology out of dormancy. So it's very important that we use the right ingredients to do the right job. So when we put that signal down, even though we're growing, let's say, a canola or a wheat, we're going to trigger that biology, say everything is right in the world again, get out and do your job. So first pass usually is in the fall, or it can be with pre-burn is the most common. And that first pass is going to get the biology going. However, we still have tight compacted soil at this time. So what's going to happen is the mycorrhizal fungi are going to come out of dormancy and they're going to start busting up the soil very, very quickly. In 2 to 3 weeks, we can already start digging soil and seeing the differences. But when we come out in 5 to 6 weeks after your first pass and do your mandatory crop checks, it's night and day when we show you your soil and your plants on your tailgate. So we're going to break up that soil and build an environment that the biology can actually live in. So the first pass, get that soil loosened up, get an environment where the biology can exist. And then we come on second pass, normally with your first herbicide pass, so there's no extra work. And we're going to hit that biology again with another trigger. Say, get out, get going. The conditions are right now. We got an environment you can live in. And away they're going to go. They're going to refine and eat the applied fertilizer program because bacteria always eat first. They'll take it before your plant can take it. And that's a good thing because it's only biology that converts inorganic fertilizer into plant available fertilizer. So the biology is going to consume up the fertilizer program, and it's going to attach to the plant with its rhizospheres, and it's going to force that plant, if it wants nutrition, to jack up its complex sugars, complex proteins, start dripping exudates down through the plants, through the roots, and trading off for nutrition from the biology. So basically, we're going to put that fertilizer plan on a nice slow release program throughout the season. We're going to get the best possible bang out of our fertilizer dollars because we're going to minimize soil loss and tie up, and we're going to slow release your big input to this crop over the whole season instead of getting the big bang all up front. When we have plants that aren't on the trade-off system, so let's just say we have no biostimulant, no very little biology rolling for us, we're going to plant a crop, we're going to put the fertilizer underneath it, and that fertilizer is going to dissolve. Some of it will get broke down by the little bit of biology that we have going, but a lot of it will dissolve within the groundwater. Every time the plant takes a drink of water, it's going to take up some salt-based nitrogen. So what that does is it forces the plant on a cellular level to grow a little too rapidly. So every time it takes a drink of water, it's going to dehydrate a bit. It needs more, so it just keeps taking more and more. So it's a very inefficient way to use the bit of water we do have. It's also a very inefficient way to use our fertilizer program. If we look at the cell structure under a microscope under this system, the cells are more like water balloons. They're an oblong. They have points everywhere where they're leaking plant sap, water. Those are natural entryways for disease and pests to get into our plants as well. And that is why we have lodging, as we can put more fertilizer on it and grow good grain and a heavy head up top, but we have a weak stalk underneath it. So as we feed more nitrogen, we get lodging. We don't have a nice waxy coating over the surface of the plant, so again, one less layer of protection for our plants. As far as pests and disease go, pests and disease like plants that are unhealthy, unbalanced, low in sugars and proteins, and only have simple sugars and proteins. So pest-wise, anything that sucks the sap out of our plants is able to digest plants that have low sugars, low proteins, but most importantly, simple sugars and simple proteins. And that's what we're growing as farmers because we're on the chemical wheel and we're teaspoon feeding our crops and doing it that way. When we force a plant to start dripping exudates into the soil, it is forced to jack up its complex sugars and proteins. This is a natural defense against pests and disease. It's not going to take us out of a severe situation, but it is going to give us a degree of protection. And sometimes it is enough not to spray. I mean, that's up to you and your advisor to be checking, knowing that you do have a little bit more defense than you had before. And sometimes it gets us out of jail and we're not able to do a pass. But if you do need to spray a pass, whether it's for disease or insects, you have a dual-pronged approach now. It's just like using two different types of herbicides to tackle a weed. We're using the chemical shed and a natural deterrent. So we're getting excellent control, whatever disease or pest that we are spraying for. So this product isn't necessarily meant to eliminate any inputs you're using. You're just going to get a lot more efficacy and bang for your buck out of the inputs you are using, including herbicides. So when we spray herbicides on a plant that's imbalanced, is struggling, we don't get great uptake on the weeds. So we're getting half kills, and over the years, now we have herbicide resistance problems. If we have plants that aren't taking in chemical to their full potential, it's the same concept as farmers saying doing half rates for 10 years. You get the same end result. You get plants that build up resistance to that chemical. So I blame that on compaction and struggling weeds or struggling plants in poor conditions. When we have a plant that's rolling in good soil, has good biology behind it, it will readily absorb anything we spray on it, and we get 100% kill. So again, just getting the most out of your chemicals that you are spraying. When we have that plant forced on that natural symbiotic relationship, and we're slowly feeding the nutrition to the plant as the plant drips exudates in the soil and calls for the fertility it requires, that cell structure grows a lot slower. I'm not talking about days to harvest, I'm just talking cell structure. So when we have a plant like that now and we look under a microscope, we got The cells look a lot more like cinder blocks. They're rectangle shaped, they're tight, they're thick, they got good cell walls on them, they got a nice waxy coating over the whole plant. We have naturally blocked a lot of entryways for pests and disease to get into the plant. We build a much stronger, healthier, balanced plant, reducing lodging, and again, reducing pest and insect problems. So that's really, in a nutshell, the two basic systems, and how a good biology program can help your farm. So as we go into the biostimulant now, we'll just explain that one here. So CFIA registered product, again, the carbon-based liquid solution, providing essential nutrients to emerging plants via the biology, which maximizes root growth and nutrient uptake. So we were enhancing and promoting beneficial microorganisms in the soil, and also very importantly on the plant as well. The product will get the biology rolling in the soil, and that acts as a fertilizer catalyst, reducing the loss and tie-up of soil-applied fertilizer, which is very important. So what we'll see on the fertilizer side of things, again, we are not a company that's ever going to tell you to cut some fertilizer. We'll cut 5% and use our product. That's irresponsible advice. What we want to see you do is add on the crop aid. Maybe you split a field in half, and we want to see, that normal 2 to 5 bushel an acre increase. And then when we soil test in the fall, we're going to see the same, or in most cases, higher residual nutrients where you took off more grain, showing you that your nutrient efficiency is much better. Then again, up to you and your advisor to have a look at your new soil nutrient levels and decide whether or not there's room to cut, or if you're just happy with the extra fertility. We have farmers that go 3 different ways on their fertilizer program using our product. Some will put it on land, see a heavier fertilizer guys, and over a year or two, they're going to see they've got a high amount of residual nutrients. They're almost forced to cut back, especially if they're going to be growing a pulse in there. They're too high on the end. We have farmers in the middle that are, say, medium type fertilizer guys. They'll use our product. They will get a lift in nutrient residual, but they're also growing more grain now. So they're still right on the money and doing the right rates. And then we will have other guys that were maybe low on the fertility side, especially maybe on some poor producing land. And now that they've got the soil back and it's rolling and it's healthier, they're growing a lot more grain on that land. They're actually adding more fertility to grow more bushels. So that whole decision of fungicides, pesticides, and fertilizer is not us telling you what to do. That will show up on paper, black and white. And again, up to you and your advisor to figure out where you want to go. But it will show up, and it is something to look at for your return on investment, definitely. Also a very good product for forages and crops. Forage crops and pasture hay benefits. So what we're seeing there is higher TDN, or total digestible nutrition. So that's just through a plain old leaf tissue analysis for feed quality. Higher plant sugars and proteins, of course, because we're going to force the pastures to go on to this trade-off program. So they're going to be full of complex sugars and proteins, more energy, more minerals. Your animals are going to eat less food and gain more weight. They'll be happier, healthier animals and spend a lot less energy running around for food. Again, all shows up on plant tissue analysis and feed quality tests. We're taking the compaction out of the pastures, so you get better regrowth, pastures hanging on longer in the fall in dry conditions. And you will see selective grazing as well. So if you decide to split a pasture in half, the animals are going to eat the half with the higher minerals before we can see anything. If you're doing it on a forage crop and you're splitting it, you'll notice your animals will eat treated bales before they'll eat the other treated bales. And part of that is the higher minerals, and another part of that is palatability. So palatability, one test we often do when we come out to your farm. So if you choose to try Crop Aid Nutrition, whether you do 1,000 acres or 10,000 acres, it doesn't matter. You get the same amount of service, which means mandatory crop check. Someone's going to come out to your farm and between the middle of June, middle of July with you. We're going to dig some soil where you've treated and where you haven't. We're going to show you exactly what's going on in that soil and all the things that we talked about today happening. Now, part of it, as we talked before, was that healthier plant cell structure with the waxy coating on it. So we'll give a test in the crop, which we can just do ourselves. So if we pull the flag leaf off of a barley or a wheat or a durum crop, and you just wipe it on your tongue, the top, and then flip it around over on the bottom. On an untreated field, The bottom is going to be like arrowhead barbs going the one way. It's very, very coarse. That coarse open cell structure, which allows rust spores to hook in, it allows pests to get in and disease. It's also very porous, so we get a lot of evapotranspiration coming out of the plant, meaning we're losing a lot of water during the heat of the day. We have no waxy coating on there. We walk over 50 feet across the spray line to where you've sprayed it. You will rub that leaf on your tongue. It'll be waxy smooth, top and bottom, all sealed up nice and tight. And then we will ask you to chew on those flag leaves, 2 different flag leaves. And the one that's treated, I don't know, it just tastes like green grass, I guess, or whatever. But the one that's not is sour and gross, and you'll spit it out. So that's what the animals taste as well. So these things that we can't see with the naked eye, if we're actually out there munching on it, is very noticeable. So again, the ingredients in the Crop Aid Plus, it's that lignin and kelp extract based, both plant ingredients, plant-based ingredients. We also add some micronutrients. Now these micronutrients, boron, iron, manganese, and zinc, these are not in the product in any way to make up for any shortfalls in your soil or your plant analysis. These are part of the trigger to get the biology out of dormancy that we want out of dormancy. So the lignin, that pure carbon, plant-based carbon, and the kelp will trigger out a huge amount of plant-based biology, but we can hone in that signal and also get out of dormancy the critters that are involved for refining: boron, iron, manganese, and zinc. So we can really fine-tune that trigger for the crops we grow as farmers. Rates and timings, 2 to 3 applications a year. That third application is usually only done if we're fighting a specific problem. So if we have guys with just concrete hard land, they may do a fall pass and then the 2 in the spring and then the 1 on first herbicide, just to really get a faster action on that compaction. If we have farmers facing certain soil-borne diseases, that third pass, we've shown through our studies and our research with the universities, that third pass is very beneficial for eradicating spores, setting up that land better for next year, and helping that crop survive and get to harvest without losing yield. So that's where that third application may come in. First pass can be with your pre-burn herbicide in the spring. It can be injected with liquid fertilizer, say 2800, 1034, mixes great with Alpine. It can be injected, it can be floated on, however you want to do it. It can go on in the fall time. If you're not doing any of those things, so it's a dry year, maybe you're doing Roundup Ready canola, you're not going to do any spraying until you're in crop, then you would go in crop with your first pass. So we try to make it so that it's a huge window and it's never just an extra pass, because we all know there's no time for extra spraying. We can barely get done what we got to do with our own. So rates and timing, that second pass, again, normally it goes down with the first herbicide pass. That's the most common. It can go down with a fungicide pass, an insecticide pass, a foliar fertilizer a little later in the season. If for some reason your sprayer is only going to go out in that field 1 time a year just for spraying a herbicide, then we just put the ½ liter down at once at herbicide time and done. So lots of different ways to get it down. Rates and timing, fall, we talked about the fall application. Anytime after harvest can be your first 250 mil pass. It can be mixed with any product. Guys that are growing winter wheat, of course, would be at that time as well. I will say that over the years, so we're going into year 9. When we started out, year 1's probably through 5, there was a lot of learning with our product. We're trying to sell a product to all of North America and saying we can mix with every chemical, herbicide, fungicide, and type of water. That is a big ask and a big chore. That's been the biggest barrier or thing we've had to get over as a company. So the last couple of years now, we are finally there with the scientists we have on boards and the chemists we're working with. We feel very confident now in the last 2 years that we're just getting no more issues in the sprayer. And if we are, it's a mixing order problem, not a product problem. So we have guys on staff that are a phone call away if there is any issues. They're easily correctable by just some good advice. We always recommend follow your chemical recommendation label first and then throw the crop aid in last. So if you have a dry flowable and it's saying do not use a pH reducer, put in the tank for 5 minutes, agitate, fill half full of water before adding any other chemical, then that's what you need to do. Chucking the crop aid in last, there's no issues whatsoever. So we've spent a lot of time and effort on that so that there are no issues anymore. Because I know as a farmer, the last thing I need on an odd, calm day is a problem with a sprayer. It's just not acceptable. So again, on the forage crops, pasture hay, depends. You know, not a lot of guys out spraying pastures. Usually they're too rough to spray. So it can be ground sprayer. It can be airplane. Usually it's just the 500 mil at once because we're only spraying once. Highly recommended if we're out with a ground sprayer in the pasture because it's always low fertility to mix with our Rebound product, which we'll talk about in a second. It's a high nitrogen, high phos foliar. Works extremely well in combination with the biostimulant to really crank that pasture into high gear. And of course, we would just spray it in the spring, kind of mid-May when pastures are just starting to green up and we can get some soil and plant coverage. If you'd want to spray it twice, you would spray it again in the summer after a good heavy graze where it's shortened down again and it's actively growing. If we're in forages, of course, same timing in the spring, and then after first cut, you would go again if you're doing it again. Mixing and handling, again, can be tank mixed with herbicides, fungicides, insecticides. We do recommend a jar test, especially if we're spraying something off-label, and you know that does happen on the farm, spraying stuff that's not quite on-label, but it saves a pass. So if we're going to do something a little bit out of the box, we do suggest to do a crop or a jar test just for peace of mind. We can come out and do that for you, no problem. It's a phone call away. We'll come out, use your water, your chemicals, bench test it for you right in front of you and make sure everything's perfect. And how do we do a jar test? It's easier said than done. So in every box and on every tote is little instructions and a little formula how to do a quick jar test. So it's not only good for our product, but anything else you might want to try on the farm, you can use the same formula. Adjusting water pH with crop aid citric acid is something too, not necessarily for our product, but when you're spraying expensive chemical on the farm, we want to get the most value and the biggest bang of our buck out of those products. We want to be too as well in that 5 to 6.5 range with our crop aid product, but that's where you want your chemicals as well. So glyphosate, glufosinate, and diquats, we want around 5, 5.5. We want them on the acidic side. They work much better. The glufosinates are like your Liberties. You want to use warmer water. If you're having troubles with glufosinate not working well, poor water, so high TDS, is a big culprit, and cold water. If you're pulling directly out of a well and putting it in the sprayer, you're going to have issues with that chemical. So if you can somehow get it out of the well and put it in a tank and then go that way and have it warm up, that works much better. So on our farm, we have a well with a tank farm beside it, black poly tanks, and it's on a float and it's just always filling. And we just pull out of there, the water's warmer, the sun's been beating on the tanks, and we're getting a lot better results out of our glufosinates. So water pH and water quality, very good. We'll talk about the citric acid in a moment. The other chemicals, of course, they all like it around that 6.5. So again, always follow your mixing and label instructions on your chemicals first and foremost, and then add crop aid in last. Container sizes, again, 10-liter jugs, 500 and 1,000-liter totes. And the foliar fertilizers. So foliar fertilizers, you know, macronutrients, micronutrients, all our micros are in EDTA form. So EDTA means it's an organic acid process. So it's taking those micronutrients, putting them through an acid process and putting an organic bond around the molecules, which is very important because anything with an organic bond around a molecule will easily go through the waxy coating of a leaf. Anything without that is much harder to get into a leaf. So it's called chelation or chelates. So if we can add some chelates to our sprayer and have some of our ingredients already chelated, that makes everything get into the leaf a lot better. So the lignin's a chelator, the kelp's a chelator, the micronutrients we use are all chelated already. And then if we're using some citric acid water conditioner, that is also a mild chelator, and we'll talk about that one in a second. So it's very important. We also add amino acids to our foliar fertilizers, something nobody else is doing. And amino acids do a couple different things. They jack up photosynthesis in the plant. So research shows us that we are using about 50% of photosynthesis capability the way we're growing crops today. It's the photosynthesis that converts light energy into chemical energy. So, of course, the more energy we can convert to the plant, the healthier, the stronger plant, more yield, more grain. So amino acids jack up the photosynthesis, so they're very good for yield response and a healthy plant. They also help get the product into the plant. So amino acids, again, a good chelator, putting organic bonds around all the fertilizer molecules to get them into your plant. It will also help any chemicals that you have tank mixed with this foliar get into your plant really well. So anyone that's mixing, doesn't matter what kind of chemical, with one of our two foliars, you will get excellent absorption into your plant and a better efficacy out of the chemical that you are using. So we have two of them, a rebound and a react. And they do kind of two different things, but we'll get to that shortly. So all foliar fertilizers provide important nutrients at critical growth stages, including nutrients not available in the soil or not being brought up from the soil. Helps optimize nutrients that improves plant health. And then, of course, we can get nutrition to that plant at high stress times. So whether it's too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, maybe right after a hailstorm, whenever we got a real stressor going, that's when a foliar fertilizer really pays off to use. Foliar fertilizer is roughly 8 to 20 times more effective putting the nutrition on the leaf than in the ground and trying to get it back up to the plant. Roughly 90% absorption rates depending on conditions. Ours are low salt index. They're in plant available forms, the EDTA micros. Compatible with all farm chemicals that I know of. Easy to pump and handle. Non-corrosive, which is really important to me on these expensive sprayers. So it's the opposite of 2800. It's no rust, no corrosion. It's cost effective, easy to pump. Because it's made here locally, our plant is near Rosetown. We just pass the savings along. We got extremely good foliars at very, very good pricing. So the Rebound 71305, that's a high phosphorus product. It's got essential micronutrients in it and amino acids. So the Rebound is typically used as a crop safener is one of the things, so at a half rate. So normally this is a liter an acre. If you want to go cheap crop safener to add with chemicals that are maybe burning the plants a little bit, that granular Sencor is a great example on lentils. Bit of Rebound with that, no leaf burn. It's a couple bucks an acre. It's fantastic. It's high on N, high on phos. So we typically use Rebound on early growth stage cereals when we're trying to build a bigger head. Or using the Rebound on pulses because we're generally a little shy on nitrogen on our pulse rotations. And again, on that crop safener, that's just a fantastic product if you're using any kind of a chemical. Even like Roundup Ready canola seems to take a back seat for a week or 10 days. Put a liter of Rebound with it, it just takes right off. It's fantastic. And again, helping with that chemical absorption and efficacy of whatever chemical you're mixing it with. React is a 43610, so it's lower N, lower P, but it's got potassium in it and it's high sulfur. Again, the micronutrients and the amino acids. Now, this one's commonly used on canola at all stages because of the higher sulfur. It would be used on late stage cereals. And the reason for that is because of the sulfur component. So if we want protein to tick over at the terminal, if we hit it with a shot of sulfur at the end of the season, we're going to definitely lift protein up at the terminal. So if you're going for yield with a foliar fertilizer, it's that 3 to 4 or 5 leaf stage of a cereal plant where it's just deciding how many rows to put on the head. If we spray after that stage, we're not affecting yield. We're only affecting quality, protein, plumpness, oil content, depending on what we're growing. But if you want yield out of a foliar, it's 3 to 5 leaf stage. When if we peel back that stalk right above the ground, you can actually find the head in there. It's the very, very beginning stages, and it's just deciding how many rows of grain to put on there. If we give it a shot of foliar at that time and tell the plant, hey, you've got lots of nutrition, you've got the ability here to make more grain and carry it through, it's going to put an extra row on that head. If we want quality, plumpness, heavy grain, protein or oil content, heavy canola, that's later stage in the season. On a cereal, that's kind of flag leaf to early heading. On the canola side of things, you can put foliars on at any time, all the way up to about a 30% flowering, and we're getting good response out of that. Out of all the trial work we've done, a foliar fertilizer applied at full cabbage when it's just starting to bolt but doesn't have the yellow flower on top of it yet. I know that's a very short window. That's where we get the biggest bang out of a foliar for yield. So, anywhere as close to that full cabbage stage is ideal for canola. And again, 1 liter an acre for those products. If you're using Rebound as a safener, you could slim that back to a half liter. Works just fine. And applications per season are all over the map. We got guys that use it once a year and guys that the sprayer never leaves the farm without it in, just depending what you see, what you're comfortable with. And as you learn that product and see the ROI you get out of it, then you can kind of fine tune it to your operation. Again, they can be mixed with everything that we know of at this time. Container sizes are the same, 10-liter jugs, 500-liter totes, 1,000-liter totes. And again, no deposits on totes. We will come and pick them up at the end of the year if you choose to let us do that, or they're yours. Citric acid. So chemicals require correct water pH to get the best efficacy out of them. And certainly not all water is equal. So depending where we're getting it from, town water, well, rainwater, dugouts, sloughs, those sources are anywhere from usually 10 to 7 pH. We've tested some sloughs, especially in southern Saskatchewan, like Pontex area, where they've been 13 pH. And there's no wonder that Guy's Chemicals isn't working. It's just, it's crazy high pH. So, as we discussed before, ideal range for glyphosate, glufosinate, and Dicot, 5 to 5.5. And for other chemicals, they like around 6.5. Our citric acid comes in a 20-liter pail. It's a powder. It is citric acid. So it's the same food-grade citric acid that you'll see on the ingredient of every processed food we eat. It's a little citric acid. It's the same stuff. It looks like icing sugar. It smells like oranges. It's derived from lemon and lime rinds. So it's an organic product. And the reason that's important, it's an organic acid, so it chelates in the sprayer. It hides and bonds the molecules from each other. So for an example, in my sprayer, I got a 1,600-gallon sprayer. If I put 2 little scoops of citric acid in there, before I put the 2 scoops in, my water is about 1,200, 1,250 TDS, so it's not great water. If I put 2 little scoopies in there, so about a half liter's worth, it'll be at 250 on the test. I haven't taken that hardness out of the water or put it through an RO system or anything. It's all still in the sprayer, but because it has that chelation done to it now and the bonds are hidden with organic bonds, or the atoms are hidden with organic bonds, it's hidden from each other. So that's very important when we're going to hide hard water from glyphosate so that it doesn't tie up in the sprayer. We get a better efficacy out of it. If you're happy to use 2 different chemicals in the sprayer that are a little bit antagonistic and maybe they're snotting up the tips a little bit, usually a little bit of citric acid in the sprayer will hide those chemistries from each other, and away you go, no problem. Citric acid is also a natural cleaner, so it's fantastic when you are using that with every sprayer full. It's keeping that sprayer just spotless, shiny all the time. So that's what it does, and that's mode of action. So we're adjusting pH to get it right for the chemicals you're using, and we're eliminating that TDS out of the water and getting the best possible water that you can use. So again, 20-liter pail, it's a powder. We do put a scoop in it. And there's no point telling you to measure for pH if you don't have a kit. So we also include a pH kit on the pails too. So everything you need is there. And a pail, roughly 4,000 or 5,000 acres of spraying out of a pail. So it's a few pennies an acre is all it costs. So that's our products. Here's just a few pictures I said we'd show you just to give you an idea of what to expect when using this product. So this is a first-year user at Raymore, Saskatchewan. The crop the year before was corn. The crop the year he's using this now is canola. And it's the first year, so we're 55 days after first application. So where he didn't use the product is typical. It's a lighter loamy soil. It was very dry. The corn stalks from the year before are still got all the fibers on them. There's not much action happening there. There's no breakdown going on. We go 50 feet off the spray line. This is a split section. We got much darker soil, and that's the action of the biology. So when we have good biology rolling in the soil, they sequester carbon. It's out of the air, pulls it out of the air. So we get carbon's black, so we get darker colored soil. It's also holding a lot more water. We could make mud balls there on that side. This side was all dust. You can see the better aggregation, like crumbliness, on the right side where we just have dust and small particles on the left. And then if you look at the shoots of the corn, we're getting major trash breakdown there in a hurry. So it's breaking down last year's trash, refining those nutrients and giving it back to the crop that's growing there in exchange for those exudates, that natural relationship. So trash breakdown is another side benefit of good biology. I know on our farm, or anyone that's using our product, if I have I grow durum, so if I have a 65, 70 bushel durum crop, I got a lot of trash on the ground at the end of combining. We got a rotary combine, so we smash it the best we can. I don't bother heavy harrowing because when I get back on there in the spring and the snow melts away, I've almost got no trash left sitting on the ground. I just got my standing stubble, and most everything else has been broke down under the snow cover. It happens extremely quick. That yield hasn't happened very often lately, that's for sure. Straw hasn't been an issue. This year was good, but the last 3 years, no straw. Here's one at this Pontex place. I'll just go through a few photos to give you examples of what we see first year guys. So this is in 17. This is a really dry year. Split half section field. Again, the stuff on the right is treated with Crop Aid. It's got a bit more color to it, a more crumbled texture. So if we're dealing with land that's droughted and dry, I mean, it's dry too. We're not making a mud ball on the right here. But at least we could dig it with the shovel and break it with our hands, and it's all crumbly and nice. The stuff on the left is super common everywhere. Cinder blocks coming out, breaking spades, trying to dig the soil. So that again would have been around that 40 days or whatever after the spray has been put on. So the compaction is our flagship line. I mean, that is the root of all evil on farms. We got compacted, tight soil like that. We get a snow melt, it all runs off. We get a thunder shower, it all runs off. We got loose aerated soil with good structure in it. That water soaks in and soaks into the submoisture, also takes the salts with it that we're applying every year with our fertilizer. So starting to eradicate that salt problem that's been building up. If we think about salt for a minute, we've been using heavy rates of granular fertilizer for the last 50 years. And let's say an average farm is using 200 pounds of a blend. Half of that is fill. So like a 4600, you got 54% is fill, so salt. So over 50 years, if half that blend is salt, that's 5,000 pounds of salt we've put in the top 2 inches of our land. With no biology working for us and no good flushing of water through compacted soil, it's just retaining in the top, and then we're getting salt issues. That runoff is carrying it down to our low pressure spots, and we're getting saline areas everywhere. We're starting to grow a lot of kochia. Kochia loves free nitrogen and free salt. So if we can start addressing some of the issues in the soil to get rid of those conditions, we get a better handle on those weeds too. The ground will always cover itself with a plant, and it's the soil that dictates what kind of plants will flourish on that soil. Again, here's just another one. This is actually off of my farm. So that's heavy clay. This is a field that's been cut in half. So half's never been treated with Crop Aid, half has. It's not too dry, so this is in June. So we still got spring moisture here from the snow. But you can see where those chunks there, they're like those hard shale, super compacted, no oxygen. And over there we got it's just like potting soil. It has that really nice smell to it, like that peat moss smell. On the left, there is no smell whatsoever. That peat moss smell we get, like out of Mom's garden, all that is the bio-life in the soil. That smell is the excretions from the biology itself. It's just that nice, real gardeny peat moss smell. And that's one indication that we'll show you on the back of your tailgate in the middle of June or July the first year you use it is that smell will be back. And that's a real good indicator that we're getting that biology really rolling in your soil. So same thing again, just digging more soil. This is in Minton, so south of Regina by the US border. The same thing, it's got that shiny look to it, really, I call them like shale layers. And the other side's just nice and loose and crumbly. Important thing, like on canola or any other plant, but canola is a really good indicator. It's not great at getting through compaction. So when we grow canola, it goes down 2 inches to where the drill scraped on the ground and makes a right-hand turn. So as we dry out in July and get a dry finish, we're only using this much soil for moisture. So it's no wonder we fall into drought conditions very quickly. If we can have that taproot going down 8, 10, 12 inches with nice laterals off of it all the way, we're going to have a lot more water to access, and maybe we got some good hyphae coming off that as well. We're going to be able to survive those dry finishes a lot better. So here is by McCrory, so that's by Diefenbaker Lake. This is in some really poor pasture land. This was put on in end of May, and we checked it in July, I believe, right there. So it wasn't on very long. The guy heard about it kind of late, but he figured he wanted to put it on anyways. It was a drought year in 22, as we all know. I don't think there was any rain while it was from when it was put on to when we checked it. If there was, it was maybe a couple tenths. Serious grasshopper pressure. Everything was eaten off by cows or grasshoppers. But yet when we dug, the left side again non-treated, it had that real whitey light color, no biology, no organic matter, dry, crumbly, dusty. And on the other side, where it was just a split pasture, it already had more color, structure into it. You could squeeze it. It wasn't making a mud ball, but there was moisture in it. So it was already a big difference after about 35 or 40 days. It's the same thing. I'll just skip through some of this. It's all the same kind of thing, first-year users. This one here is in North Dakota, so it's using a infrared, looking at plant mass. So you can see the rectangle in the middle. That's where it was sprayed. The red spots are high hilltops where nothing's growing. But it was just an interesting study that was done in the States. Here's again, this is Gulva, North Dakota in 22, fully droughted out. So it's dry, even where we have the crop aid. It's dry, but at least it was crumbly and we could break the clods with our hands. But on the left, it was that big cinder block concrete chunks. Here's some corn. So again, split. This is first year cornfield split in half. So treated on the right, non-treated on the left, just showing the biology, trading the nutrients back to the plant. There's some kind of deficiency going on here, probably phos-related on this corn on the left, where the biology has good action and is trading to the plant, and the plant's dripping exudates and calling for what it needs. We have a much healthier, stronger plant. The yield was substantially better. And that's just a picture of more of their stuff. This is in Leader, so this is in Brendan's area. So again, just early stage growth. I will skip through some of this stuff. So some trial work. We'll just quickly go through some trial results that we've been getting. So this is, the company is called Small Plot Trials, based out of Alberta. So these ones were in Vulcan. So this particular year in 2020, again, that's a pretty dry year, or drier year. But it looks like they must have had some rain. It's 61 bushels an acre on the control. So this is using the program. This has got seed treatment on it. It's got the 2 shots of Crop Aid Plus, and it has a shot of React. That React would have went on later stage. So 65 bushel an acre, so it's a 4 bushel increase. Here's some peas, 60 to 63, and canola, 40 to 44. So we got reams and reams of this data. We do it every year. We do it all over Canada and now in the States. And you'll see that the numbers are pretty consistent depending on the year. So here is in St. Brew, 2020. They had a good year up there in 2020. We did not down here. So again, the program on oats, 114 on the control, 129 with the program. So 13% increase or 15 bushels an acre. Barley was 5.7 bushels and the canola was 1.4. but the percentage-wise, yeah, as well, 4.3. So now this is the exact same plots of land again. So actually at St. Brew, we did it the first year, and then we had the bright idea of using the exact same plots again and just keep going forward and seeing how that looks after year 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's second year of treated. So 2021, the drought hit them up there. Here's the oats again, only at 33. Increase of 6.5 or 19%. So when we have a drought or a big stress, the yields are going to be lower, but you'll see that the percentage of increase is higher because that's when these healthy soils and programs really pay off in spades, is when there's a big stressor involved. So barley, 4.3 bushels or 20% yield increase. Canola, 13%. Here's on year 3 now in St. Bruce, same plots, same pieces of land. We got oats, so a little better year, up to 78 bushels. 84 on the treated, 8% or 7 bushels an acre. Barley 90 to 98, so 7.7. And canola 46 to 54, and that was a big one. So it really responded on year 3, 7.7 bushels better. So when we're talking about ROI of a product, yield's the easiest one to look at because that's dollars and cents. But when we look at the possibility of plants that are warding off some pests and disease, we got to look at that. And we also have to look at the soil tests, because if we're showing you 10, 20 pounds of extra P and N in the soil, that is money in the bank as well. So there's lots of different things to look at here, and there certainly is a fantastic ROI with our program. So this is year 4 now. So peas, 3.3, wheat, 5.7 bushels, and canola, 4.8 bushels. So before I had mentioned kind of that 2 to 5 bushel, that's what we expect out of the product. This just go through some seed treat data, I guess. So this is done at your lab at Swift Current here, Seed Solutions. And so what we're seeing is at a seed lab, when farmers are bringing in grain, if that spread between germination and vigor is more than a 10-point spread, the recommendation will be to get new seed. So this is real farmers, random guys bringing in grain to get it tested, and then they're taking those samples on the side and retesting them with our products, and that's how we get our real-life data. So it's not my grain, it's guys like yourself bringing in grain that you're potentially going to use to go seeding with. So untreated and treated, you can see the pictures from the Petri dish. This is flax. So we were 76 germ coming in and 80 after it was treated, and the vigor was 60 and it boosted to 75. So we took grain that was 76 and 60, that would have been out of spec, and we now have it at 80 to 75, which is 5-point spread. That seed's good to use now. So this person would have not had to buy, or the recommendation would have not have to buy new seed. It's good. Maybe the germ at 80, you want a seed a bit heavier, but the seed was fine. So this one here is canary seed. So it come in with a germ of 83 and a vigor of 68, and after treated with the seed product, it was 90 and 82. So again, back into spec. It really lifts the vigor of the grain. It's as you'll see here as we go through. So barley, it come in at a 96 and a 90, and it went out as a 99 and a 96. And you can also see the vigor and the growth on those Petri dishes compared to the untreated. So one of the biggest comments we get with the seed product is how quick it's out of the ground and how even. This one here is yellow mustard, so 91 and 80, and it come out with a 93 and an 85. And again, you can see the vigor on that mustard and the health of those small plants compared to the untreated. That's a big, big difference on this particular mustard seed. Here's one of wheat. Come in as a 94 and an 87, so that's a pretty good wheat, and it come out with a 96 and a 92. So again, these products do the most benefit if we're dealing with harsher conditions or poorer seed. So this one here is durum, 81 and a 67 vigor, and 87 and 84, so tighten that right up. Oats, 85 and a 68 vigor to a 90 and an 81. And again, it's a little dark, but the root growth on those plants at the lab compared to the untreated is substantial. This one here is a good one. This is lentils, and you can just see the difference on the vigor in those dishes where they're being grown. We went from a 93 germ and only a 58 vigor. That's why we got not much vigor in the top one, to a 96 germ and an 80 vigor. And that's the difference. And this one here is peas. So come in at an 86 and a 73 and left with an 89 and a 82. So again, tightened it right up. And again, you can see the root growth and the vigor and the thicker stalks with this product on it. So if we can combine the seed treat program with the biostimulant program and then a shot of foliar if it's required during a stressor in the season, you can really see how that starts stacking up and why guys are accomplishing what they are with this program. Here is just some Alberta research on some clubroot. So we had the U of A go through and test some infected soils with our product on, and they found some, first of all, they tested it in a greenhouse to see if it would even work, and then once they figured out it would work, then it went out into the real world, out in the open fields, large-scale trials. And at the end of the day, it was a 14 to 23% yield increase, 2 different varieties. So the 14% increase was clubroot resistant variety, and the 23% yield increase was a non-clubroot resistant variety in clubroot infested land. The biomass is interesting. 2 varieties was increased between 35 and 73%. That's why the guys that are growing forage really like this product. They're getting a lot more biomass or more bales per acre. And then here's some more field trials. This one was Inatech in Vegreville. Just showing that this was a pretty dry year, 2021, real dry down there. But the trial we went into, the land was rated as a 1.6. And at the end of the season, even though it was a drought, we come back as a 0. There was 0 spore count on where the crop aid was. So we know how it's working and why it's working on the soil-borne diseases now. And then we did some work too with some peas. It was kind of droughted out, but they found 2 significantly lower incidences of the phenomyces. And then here's where that third application significantly reduced the lower incidence of phenomyces. So that's where that third pass comes in, where guys are battling a specific problem, whether it's a disease or really hard soil. So that's what we're doing. We're just maximizing the potential of the seed, the soil, and the plants, and the water, and the fertilizer, and the chemicals. We're just maximizing the potential of all those things and adding, that next layer of production to your farm. I will say that crop aid is not a silver bullet. It's another tool in your tool belt. It just will bring out the efficacy of your farming operation and help you make a little bit more money. And I think we'll just open it up to some questions from there, if I've missed something.
Not everybody at once. I do have a question.
Yes.
Regarding some other products that are used to try and do the same, similar thing. End up encouraging some burn with surfactant burn.
Okay.
So with our products, is that going to be an issue, or?
We don't have surfactants in our products, not even in the foliars. For that reason, if farmers want to add surfactants, they can do it on their own, and then they know what they've added, so they can control leaf burn. There's nothing in our products that will cause leaf burn. However, keep in mind that we do have the amino acids in all of our products, and if you are using the citric acid as well, we're chelating things. We're getting them into the plant faster than you normally would. So if you are spraying a hot mix on a hot, humid day, know that you're getting a real hot mix down on your plant, where maybe before you could get away with it with the low absorbency into the plant and the longer absorbency. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's just some common sense stuff for the sprayer operator.
I've been using this product for probably 5 years. I've been using the last 2.
Okay.
Because of drought down here. But I've had used both like the seed and the crop aid soil.
Yeah.
And the soil stuff on some of the land actually seems to soften the
Okay.
You made it, when you're farming, you made it feel like spongy.
Yeah. Yeah, it does get soft, but that's good soil structure, helps you both whether you're too dry or too wet. So when we're too dry, we have compaction, we have no water absorbency, we have tough rooting capabilities. You know, we certainly don't want land hard. Now, too soft, yeah, it'll feel really soft. You can notice it under your foot. You can certainly notice it driving through it, but it still has good soil structure. It'll still percolate water down. What you will find with soft soil is it closes up nice behind the openers. The guys further up north that are using anhydrous love this product because when they're going in the fall on untreated land, it's not closing up nice behind their discs and they're gassing off. And where they've used crop aid, it falls back in nice and tight and seals it up. So, you know, I've never seen an instance where soft soil or good soil structure was a negative, but it certainly is different riding on it. I had a half section piece and I acquired another half 2 years ago, rented from the neighbor. And I was spraying it sideways just in the fall to do some weed control and stuff. And I was cruising along my side, started out, I was doing my 19 miles an hour with 5 gallons. And as soon as I hit that wall, I'd never been on this land before, I flew up into the ceiling and, you know, it was like hitting a sidewalk curb. I had to slow right down to 12 on his side. And then when I got back to mine, I could speed up again. It's a major difference. So that would have been comparing kind of 7 or 8 year treated land with never been treated. It was a huge difference in the same block. Now, the way the softness works and the land and the biology and everything, if we can just simply talk about rating the land from a 1 to a 10, and maybe the current way we're farming it is it's a number 3, right? If we can lift that over a year or 2 or 3 or 4 to say a number 7 and still do all the things we're doing as farmers to maximize production, and then we can just maintain it there, that's the goal here. It's just to maintain good, healthy soil.
Need a lower rate that a guy could use, because like I couldn't putting it on that land because I was getting stuck going downhill. Kind of the problem. It's like it wasn't like going down.
Yeah.
Physically feel.
Yeah.
I was like pulling the air drill and it was like, holy shit, like all of a sudden I'm spinning and it's like, yeah, it's soft. Yeah,
it's soft. And I mean, most people, when I show a picture and say, you know, in 50 days or 40 days, that's the difference on the tail, they're like, but it is. I mean, it's you get that mycorrhizal fungal going, that's its role in life is to bust that soil up, and it happens very, very quickly. But like I say, that land will only go so far, and then it'll just maintain. And if you feel you need to skip a year, I mean, that's, again, you use products, and everyone's situation is a little different, and you use them and tailor them to your specific farming operations and the way you grow crops. And it also depends, you know, on your land type and what you're growing. What you're growing makes a big difference. And I'll give an example. If you grow wheat or you grow barley, you know, and then you go into that stubble in the fall, the wheat stubble's hard as a rock. The barley's nice and soft like pea stubble. What's the difference? They're both cereals. The difference is that oats is a fantastic host of biology, and it will, even in these conditions, drip some of the right exudates down in host biology. Some of that is the mycorrhizal fungi, and it's softening the soil and doing its job. Where wheat doesn't do any of that. Wheat, canola, lentils, hard as a rock. Durum, same thing. Flax, no good. You know, they don't host biology and you're hard as a rock. Corn, oats, barley, fantastic hosts of biology. Alfalfa, another really good one. You know, anything that softens the soil, vetch is another good one. That really hosts good biology, that's what it does on its own. But, you know, most of us aren't growing those crops. We're growing, you know, non-native monocrop plants that don't exudate the right things. So we can put it on, but they won't do it for us. So maybe in your case with your farming operation, maybe you're a 1 pass a year guy, and then see how that goes.
Yeah, I think like when me and Calvin did it at that time, it was 2. So we did 2 consecutive years.
Yep.
Right? But it was like,
yeah, second year land, I mean, that's where you really notice some differences for sure. And like I say, if it's on certain land type with your rotation, if you feel that structure is a little too soft and too much, you know, good structure in there, then yeah, back off. You know, tailor it to your farm. Maybe that's a skip year or a half pass or.
That's why I was wondering if I could go like a half, right?
In your case, you might be able to, definitely.
Like half a liter twice a year or whatever.
It's 250 mils twice a year, but in your case, maybe you're just doing the burn off. Or maybe just the in-crop one, depending on your program and what you want to do. Yeah, his was just pre-burn and then first herbicide pass, I believe. Yep.
What is the standard program?
That is pretty, the regular one is pre-burn and first herbicide pass, but we're getting more and more guys now that there's some chemistry out there for fall applied things, like there's some fall applied products that you can spray for lentils and peas with good residual so you're not pre-burning. So a lot of acres now are being done that way. And then, yeah, every year to maintain, especially, high chemical, high fertilizer, high production farms, 2 passes holding it just nice.
And when do you use the seed versus the seed plus?
Well, that's a farmer decision. The seed plus is a little bit more money because the spores are expensive. All crops respond to mycorrhizal fungi, like the Brassicus family, so canola and mustards. They won't host mycorrhizal fungi, but if we get the biology going in the soil and build a rhizosphere around the root, we can get that kind of action happening for it. So that's a good family. Flax is the number one responder to mycorrhizal fungi. So if we treat that seed, usually it's commercially treated because it's a kind of a funny one to treat. Yeah, you get fantastic results. That's a night and day difference on that particular crop. That's why they'll recommend never to grow flax crop behind a canola crop or a mustard crop, because those 2 plants actually drip exudates in the soil that will push mycorrhizal fungi away. And then we're going to grow a crop behind that relies on it's lower than ever. So we get not a good yield. So that's why some of these agronomic decisions are the way they are.
Yeah. So folks are looking at biology. Some products are putting live biology. There's not that many out there, but
Nope.
there are some.
Nope, we can speak to that.
Yeah.
I was involved in a lot of R&D. We've tested both biologicals and biostimulants. I used to work for a biological company. And in a greenhouse, we can get things to work really well. Biostimulants and biologicals. When we can control the light, the temperature, the humidity, and the moisture, biologicals, fantastic. And I'm sure they work great in the horticulture world. But in the real world, out on an open farmland where we can't control those things, biology has a very narrow window of how it will either survive before it goes dormant again. Maybe a slim temperature, maybe a humidity or moisture, temperature sensitive. And when we're spraying foreign biology on our land, it's foreign biology. So right away, the natural guys are batting it away as a pathogen and trying to kill it. So it's a very uphill battle. And I'm not saying those products don't work, but they're much harder to get a consistent result out of because of varying conditions in the field. Some of those products are fantastic. If we look at inoculants, those are a biological. It's live rhizobia. Work fantastic if put down the right way. They're on the seed, they're in the ground, they're safe, they're attaching to the root, and away they go. We don't have that much control with foliar applied biologicals at this stage. We're always looking for something like that to maybe even marry with a program like this, because we know in the testing we've done with some other companies that have come to us that if we put a biological with this system where the survivability rate is much higher because we do have that loose compacted soil and it is able to survive longer, we are getting better results out of some of those products. So I really feel there might be some bright future for some of those products, but I think they're going to have to be tagged along with something that changes that soil. Without correcting that compaction, the core problem on the farm, a lot of these other products will have a short-term benefit, but I don't think it's long enough to get a good ROI out like we are with this program.
And do you think you get more benefit from using your products with a farm with low biology as such? Or if you have good biology, you won't see much difference?
A common question is, if I'm going to try this, should I use my best field or my worst land? We say, give us your worst land. The worst land has the most fixing to do. So the land with the least amount of biology is going to show the biggest, fastest results as well. So if we go onto some, 4% organic land and say in Manitoba with some good rainfall, we're going to be looking for some different things there than we are at 1.5% organic land in Swift Current area with minimal rainfall. Right? There's a big difference. We're going to see different things here and faster than we are there. But over there, we have problems where we have water not going through the soil. We got, a buildup of moisture, too much water, crops with wet feet. So what we want to do there is get soil structure going so that water can percolate down into the depths and flow through the system. Here, we're not too worried about that. We just want to get water that will soak in and roots that will go down. So depends where you farm, what the better soil structure will do for you. But yes, poor lower level land will respond and have more potential to improve than better land, obviously.
Do you guys soil sample too, or do you want our soil samples from our chemical fertilizer companies that we're already dealing with?
We don't do soil sampling, but if you have it done, Darren Fisher or Terrell will gladly have a look at those and just give you a second set of eyes. We're not going to tell you, your fertilizer recommendations, but what the boys can do is marry a good biostimulant program to your conventional fertilizer program and show you maybe where it could be adjusted a little bit to get a little more out of it. But we're happy to offer that at no charge to just put a second set of eyes over it and look at it.
Well, commercial treaters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any seed treatment or any things they use that you can't?
Darren, there's one out. What's the?
Yeah, there's a company out by Lyle, and they use a seed treatment. It's a polymer.
Yeah, it's a polymer.
And it's the polymer that reacts.
So we just can't put that polymer together with ours, but what you can do is treat ours ahead of time and then bring it to them and get it treated with their product because we're dry and it's all good. But yeah, there's a certain polymer out there that wasn't mixing very well, but everything else under the sun that I know of is fine. And then if you are mixing ours with a conventional seed treatment product, you may have to cut ours back a little bit because you're going to get too much water. If you got two products at 100 mil a bushel, that might be too much. So in those cases, there'll have to be some slimming back of both products, or we got guys that'll cut back 20% of a standard chemical and maybe 30, 40, 50% of ours to make it work. And we're still okay with that if that's how it has to be. Again, we're not telling anyone to not use another product, but we'll figure out a way to work with it. Because you do have some varieties of grain out there that do need treatments, chemical treatments on there to prevent a disease later in crop. We're not going to prevent that. So you need to use the appropriate chemicals that you're advised to use. This can be a nice little add-on there. If you have to cut the rate a little bit to make it work, so be it.
So like that polymer, is that IAP?
Yeah.
Is that just their polymer?
That was just, that's the only,
Is it polymer in general, or is it just the IAP?
that so far to date, it's just been theirs. Is that correct, Darren?
Yeah, that's the only one that we had come across that created an issue. But if the other company has a polymer too,
We would just have to try it again. It's one of those things a little that I am not aware of that's been mixed together. So we'd have to give it a try. But again, if it's going to be a problem, you treat ours either before or after once the first product's dried. Yeah, possibly. I mean, if you're taking a truckload of grain to a commercial treater to get that put on, then you could treat ours into the truck. By the time it gets there and goes through their system and gets treated, it will be fine. We're just not tank mixing with theirs. So they're not handling it anymore. Still all one truckload there and back. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's a little different then, yeah.
Are you guys getting your seed treated by commercial folks, or do you do it yourself?
Yeah, sometimes we'll use that polymer.
Yeah.
And then adhere the peat inoculant.
Yep, yep, yep.
It's all one shot. So that's pretty good. Yeah, they seem to be started anyway. You have, I think you have 15 minutes or something like that to go around.
Yeah, so in a case like that, if we can't, then it would be a before or after application if you wanted both on. Yeah.
And like anything with the ground application sprayers you can't mix it with?
Nope, none that I'm aware of. Everything's fine. Yeah. Again, like I said before, we're fully transparent. We had issues in the beginning, like I think most companies do. It's a learning curve to try and sell a product all over North America now and say, hey, we'll mix with every tank chemical, every water. That's a tough ask, but I believe we are there in the last couple of years. There's been no issues. So yeah, we're pretty confident there, but we are always testing and trialing against new chemistry that comes out. So
So did you have to change this product to make it?
over the course of the years, we've had to tweak our manufacturing process, add conditioners, certainly, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Tank mixability with a granular type of herbicides, is there a different process for that?
Again,
Regular liquid?
yeah. So again, just follow the label rates on your chemical containers. Granular herbicides state that they don't want any pH adjusters in there. They want that in the tank dissolving, preferably with some warm water, not cold well water, because that doesn't dissolve very good. They want that sprayer half full, agitating for, I think it's 5 minutes, most of them. And then you start adding your other chemicals in the proper recommended order. It's always crop aid in last. We do recommend that, foaming is a chemical reaction for anybody's chemical. So we don't want foaming when we're filling the sprayer, any kind of chemicals, ours included. So turn that agitator down. If you've got a dry flowable and you want to agitate it hard, great. But once you've done that job and you're going to start chucking in your glyphosate or anything else, turn the agitator down to low. We don't want foaming with anyone's chemicals. Even if you're not using crop aid, foaming is a negative chemical reaction. It's pulling chemistry out of your chemicals and binding it together, and therefore it's not available for your plants to do its job. So foaming is a real negative. So our advice, whether you're using crop aid or not, is to have no foaming while you're filling that sprayer. So do follow the instructions, but in most cases that agitator should be down on low. You're pumping water in, you got her on low, you're driving to the field, whatever. Once it's full, you can turn it up, and we're not filling anymore, and it's right full, you're not going to foam. But during filling is oftentimes where different chemicals will foam with each other.
So a defoamer would help.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And we find with all the defoamers that we've tested over the years that Halt is probably the best one. And there's certain reasons for that. There's a lot of defoamers on the market that work fantastic, but as soon as they get over a salt ratio in the spray tank, they nullify. It's like not using one. So glyphosates are all salt. A lot of our chemicals are all salt. There's water we're using is high in salt. So sometimes adding a defoamer, we think we're doing the right thing, and it's really not doing much. You need to make sure that you're adding a defoamer that doesn't neutralize in a high salt scenario. So we found that one, although it's fairly expensive, it is probably one of the better ones on the market.
You know what that defoamer is, I use too, but it's literally like 5 drops of 12 in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, controlling foam, and, as farmers, I don't think people talk to us enough about foaming and water quality. It's very important. Crop aid aside, we're spending a lot of money on chemicals. The advice should be, a little more advice, I believe, from our chem reps, how to handle those chemicals properly. Because we're usually like, it's foaming a bit. We'll just let the foam run out a bit and top her up. That's just pure chemical ingredients coming out in that foam. That's not anything else. So, that's good to know as farmers, just with any chemistry we're using. We don't want foam during filling. That's total loss of money there.
I only started using defoamer in the last 2 years.
Water is changing. Definitely, if you talk to any chem reps out there, a lot of the chemistry that we're buying today is got more conditioners in it. It's maybe a little more acidic than it used to be. Because we notice as a company, we've been in this business 9 years. There's a definite difference in water quality from 9 years ago till today, all over. And especially the areas that have went through more droughts than others, that groundwater quality is definitely different. Where it's harder water, it's more salty, it's just not as good as it used to be. And runoff water, we find too, is not quite as good as it used to be. I think it's more and more of that salt buildup we got on our lands, the runoff to the sloughs and the dugouts. It's got more TDS, and it's got more pollutants in it than it has ever in the past. So it's something to keep an eye on as farmers spending money on chemical.
Do your products adjust the pH at all? Is that a factor?
No, our products are all around neutral. So they're not going to affect the pH in the tank. The citric acid is what will do that if we need to adjust. There's lots of products out there that will adjust acidity and bring your pH lower. I feel the citric acid is a little better because it chelates as well. You get that chelation effect, that organic bonds around your molecules, helps your chemistry get into your plants a lot better. I know guys that have just switched to that versus their old one, nothing else changed, and yeah, the comments are really good, especially in burn off.
Does a Crop Aid Plus have a different effect if you have 4 or 5 pH in your soil versus 8 or 9?
No, the biology, the research for biology is good, healthy soil will want to get itself to around that 7 pH over time. But that's a long-term, long benefit. I know on our land, so it's been treated for probably 10, 12 years now. We've probably moved about a point on our land, so from 8.5 to maybe 7.5. But we're high pH country. That's a long-term, slow-moving target. But as long as it's going in the right direction, that does show up on your soil tests again, black and white number.
So you don't recommend it necessarily on the label, so to speak, cutting back fertility, but
No.
guys in general experience?
Like I said before, the fertility thing is up to the farmer and the advisor based off of old school soil testing.
Yeah.
That we work hand in hand with the farmer and his advisor. We're not a granular or bulk fertilizer company. Our expertise is soil health. That does affect the fertility program. So we like to work with the advisors and the farmers and just say, hey, you can use the same rates you used before, but do test for it and look what's going on in your soil. You are going to see better nutrient use efficiency. That is going to happen.
Yeah.
So whether that just puts you to a place now growing more grain where everything stays the same, or whether you have to adjust one or the other nutrients because one is getting higher levels in the soil, again, that's up to the advisor, and we're more than happy to work with anybody's advisor and look at those testings and put another set of eyes over it. But ultimately, the power is with the agronomist and the advisor on that farm to make the right decisions based off of what's now changing in the soil. And that goes the same for the fungicides and the pesticides. There are now natural advantages with this program, so sometimes it takes a little more scouting, not just spray because the neighbor's spraying. It's have a look. Is there actually damage? Are we at that stage where we should be spraying, or is the threshold now a little bit lower with the system in this particular year? We don't have to spray for that certain occurrence of something. So it just takes a little more scouting and a little more looking. It's a little different system than the standard farming system.
I wonder how much agronomists are looking at that compaction and biology and all that, or...
I don't think, since there's really, other than ourselves, not a solution for that, I don't think it's really being looked at. I think, agronomists are doing the best they can with the tools they have, and we're farming around that. But there is a solution now, and we can certainly help with that and explain what's going to happen and show what's happening. And then the advisors can take that into account when they're making their programs and advising their clients, and give them the best possible advice for what's happening.
Do you see more guys doing like the soil health tests that show the biome and stuff?
It's starting to come along. Yeah.
J&L's got that product and there's biome makers, but I don't hear anybody talking about that.
Not yet. That's a new thing. It's coming. It's coming, but yeah, that's pretty new technology and new testing, and don't see a lot of it yet. No. Is there any other questions or? I don't know if we have any do you have any on us, plate?
No, we don't. Usually you just talk to your rep.
Yeah.
They'll have all the prices.
Again, we've held prices from last year, and the year before, there's no changes. But
You guys did go up on prices a few years.
we did during the COVID years when raw ingredients went through the roof. So did ours, and shortages. A lot of those raw ingredients haven't come down. Everyone's still buying them, like the manufacturers. There was some of our products we didn't increase during those years, and we were hoping to just ride it out. They've maybe had a small increase. But yeah, I don't see any change in those raw ingredients in the near future, so we'll hold our prices.
I don't know who my rep is because I was always in Calvin before.
Yeah, well, you can deal with him, or you can deal with Bruce, or Brendan, whoever's close to you. Yeah.
Is there a shelf life you treat the seed with it? Like once you treat it?
No shelf life on any of our products. The only one that has a shelf life would be as far as in the container, would be the Seed Plus. They say that the spores will start to deteriorate after 2 years. So it can. If it has to freeze, it can freeze. You will need to agitate a bit because it will settle a bit like anything else. but it doesn't hurt our product to freeze.
Yeah, we use frozen stuff too. Came out.
Yeah, no. It's common for guys to have a tote or two left over and they'll just leave it outside. Yeah.
Agitating the coat. Yeah. Stuff and shake the jugs. Just drive down the road and back the truck.
Well, if there's no other questions, I'd just like to thank everyone for taking the time today and spending a bit of time with us. And we'll be around for a little while here, as long as you like, and we can answer some questions and have a donut and some coffee. I'd like to thank Bruce for putting on the meeting and Brendan for being here. And thank you very much.